Well, this is the new book we're reading, Wings of Fire, Book 5, The Brightest Night. Chapter 1. Sonia had always known she was the right dragon for a big heroic destiny. She was going to save the world. She and her friends were going to swoop on wings of fire. Whatever that meant, and bring peace to every dragon in Priha. It was right there in the prophecy. 5 dragons born to end the fight. That was her fate. That was her purpose. It explained everything. Why else would she have to be? Was she small and weird looking? She wasn't a normal sandwing. Her scales and eyes were the wrong color, and she had a no venomous barb at the end of her tail. But that didn't matter, in fact. It made sense. Of course, a dragon hero with an epic noble quest would be a little different from everyone else. And who would care how strange she looked once she stopped the war? Then there were her parents, 2 mysterious dragons who had left her egg buried in the sand in the desert, alone and unguarded. Didn't matter, obviously didn't want her. It didn't bother Sonia at all, because it was a part of the prophecy. Hidden alone from the rival queens, the sandwing eggs await unseen. That was alright. Heroes in the scroll often had no parents. Their heroic destiny was more important than family. And her destiny was important. There was nothing more important than stopping the war between the dragon tribes. All her life, especially whenever she felt trapped or sad or worried about anything, Sunny had imagined fulfilling the prophecy, how many lives they would save, and all the happy reunited families, all the future dragonets who could grow up in peace without the constant fear of war. That was the entire point of her life, and it was a lie. Rocks walls scraped against her wings as she scrambled from the Nightwing Island. She could feel the rumbles of the volcano all the way through her claws. Her friends were behind her, still facing Morosier, but she had to get away from him, from everything. He made up the prophecy. It was all a trick. No, I don't believe it. He's a cruel dragon who's always manipulated us and everyone around him. He would say anything to hurt us. The prophecy is real. It had to be. She burst out of the tunnel into the rainforest and immediately slammed into the side of the turkey black dragon. Nightwing grunted in surprise and glared at her. Sunny tried to turn and fly the others away, but sundering the wall of black wings and Talon's tail drove her back. In the moonlight, the entire rainforest seemed to be seething with dragons. Roars and hisses and growls drowned the sounds of raindrops pattering down on the leaves all around him. It didn't help that half of the dragons were dark as shadows and the other half were camouflage, so claws and corners of wings seemed to suddenly poke out of nowhere. Sunny narrowed avoidedly, a tail in her ear, when 2 nightwings got caught in a dangling vine and whipped around violently as if they were being attacked. "Everyone calm down," Glory's voice shouted. "Listen," bellowed Grandor, the old royal rainwing. "Your new queen is speaking." Several nightwings muttered under their breaths, none loud enough to be heard. Even they felt silence as other hits at them. Sunny ducked and wriggled through the crowd, but she couldn't get any farther than the stream. Several rainwings stood by the water in shades of blue and purple, holding nightwing spears. Most of them were running the effects by peering at the spears with mystified expressions or holding them upside down. Still, Sunny decided not to try pushing past them. Those spears would hurt as much as if they poked her. Accident that was on purpose. What she really wanted to do was crash away into the rainforest and not come back. She wasn't sure she could face her friends, who acted as if they didn't care about the prophecy at all. You couldn't even look at the nightwings. The tsunami wants to believe they were moral seer. She never wanted to fulfill the prophecy. She doesn't understand how important it is. Clay would be just as happy if nobody ever noticed how wonderful he is. Then he could sleep and eat and take care of us instead of fighting. Starflight would love to stop worrying about the prophecy, and Glory has enough to do here now that she's queen. None of them will fight for our destiny. They certainly won't listen to me if I try to explain that Marcia must have been lying. They'll give me that look I always get, the one that says, "Oh, silly little Sunny and her crazy dreams. Isn't she cute and harmless?" She gazed up at the massed dark trees overhead, where the moonbeams and raindrops skittered in the wind. Even if she tried to run, she'd probably get her tail stuck in a tree branch and needed to be rescued, and her friends would get to roll their eyes and pat on the head. It wouldn't be like in the desert, she thought. She looked across the stream at the other tunnel, that one that led to the kingdom of sand. There I could fly and fly and fly all the way to the horizon without ever stopping to think. Not thinking sounded pretty appealing right now. You're just as ordinary as other dragons. Marcia's spiteful words kept going around and around in her head. I made up the whole prophecy. Now the water will drag up endlessly, and more dragons will die. Every day, probably for generations, all of them wondering what happened to the amazing dragonets who were supposed to save them, but obviously failed. Sunny clenched her talons and crushed the low ground. He was lying. She wouldn't let these nightwings see her cry. Glory climbed onto a boulder and flapped her wings loudly, even up there with her queenliest face on. Glory still looked like a dragonet, smaller than almost all the nightwings surrounding her. If the prophecy is fake, then why was everyone so awful to Glory about not being in it? Sunny thought, feeling another surge of fury and Marcia. Why make her feel so useless? And if we're all useless, because it's real, it had to be. But how can I prove it? Nightwings. Glory said firmly, speaking up to be heard over the stifling dragons and the rainstorm. Your home is gone. Your queen is dead, but this is your chance to start over. If you mess this up, you will lose this home too, she pointed to the rainwings. You will treat these dragons with respect, and in return, because that's the kind of dragons they are, they will be much kinder to you than you deserve. Rainwings across the stream from Sunny mustered on an expression that looked almost fierce. Rain spattered across Sunny's spout and wings. The storm was picking up strength, rippling through the treetops over their heads. Tonight you will stay right here, Glory went on. I don't want any nightwings wandering off until we can count you and write you all down. And assign 2 rain wings to keep an eye on you. And yes, if you're feeling like perhaps we don't trust you very much, it's because we don't. None of you are welcome in the Rain Wing Village until you earn that trust. We will find you somewhere else to live. Who'll get wet out here? One of the burlier Nightwings complained. Glory gave him a steely glare. Feel free to go back and sleep in your nice dry island instead, she snapped. I hear it's quite warm there. Sunny glanced around at the Nightwings even in the moonlight. She could see that most of them looked badly shaken and stunted, seeking their home buried by the volcano. Even if they knew it would happen eventually, and even though the island had been a terrible place to live, it still must have been an awful shock. Something like being told your whole life is a lie, I imagine. A roar of sudden erupted from the crowd behind her. Black dragons surged towards Sunny, flapping their wings in alarm, as 2 deep red wings drove in this and dragged a yowling, petrified Nightwing in front of Queen Glory. This one, growled one of the Rain Wings. He can't stay here. He's one of the worst of all of them. He's one who did all the venom experiments on us, said the other. She lashed her tail and hissed at him. Sunny had never seen any Rain Wings look so angry before. Besides Glory, she craned her neck to peer at Nightwing and realized it was Starflight's father, Mastermind, the head of scientists of Nightwing tribe. From the look on Glory's face, the Queen was probably guessing exactly who it was too. The Nightwings have been kidnapping Rainwings for the last year, imprisoning them and doing experiments to understand their venom shooting abilities. They've been planning to invade the rainforest to steal from the Rainwings, either by killing or enslaving all the peaceful rainforest dragons who already live there. Sunny had seen lava-riddled wasteland of an island where the Lightlings have lived. She knew they were desperate for a new home, and at first she knew Starflight was brilliant for offering them to let them come through to the rainforest as long as they pledged royalty to Queen Glory, along with a promise to behave peacefully. She liked the idea of dragons from different tribes learning to live together. She felt sorry for the sick and starving black dragons, and she loved the poetic justice of Rainwing becoming the new queen of the Nightwings. But looked at the muttering dragons around her, the Nightwings who didn't look as sorry as they should, and the hissing Rainwings who were only the beginning to realize what their friends had been to. Sunny wondered if this had been a huge mistake. Maybe they shouldn't have left the Nightwings be swallowed up by the volcano. Maybe it wasn't possible to guess. Maybe we shouldn't even try. If they could lie about something as huge and important as the prophecy stopping the war, what else would they lie about? How could Glory ever trust them? I'm sorry, Mastermind croaked weakly. I was just for science. His voice sputtered out, and he cringed away, and the Nightwing beside him. Glory flared her wings, and several colors rippled quickly through her scales. Tie him up. We'll figure out what to. Look out! A dragon by the tunnel rose. Stand clear! The fate speaker shot out of the hole. A moment later, a tsunami hurtled after her. Everyone get down! The sea wing yelled. The Nightwing by the tunnel all threw themselves to the ground. A blast of scorching heat crackled out of the hole, turning the raindrops around it to hissing steam. Sunny was one of the few still standing, looking at the tunnel, when two more dragons burst out of it. It was Clay, with his wings shielding Starflight's front talons were covering his eyes, and long burns were blistering along his scales. As soon as they reached the open air, they collapsed to the ground. "Stay back!" Tsunami shouted fiercely at the dragons who were flapping around them. "Starflight!" Sunny cried, feeling a stab of guilt. "He's hurt. I never should have left my friend with Moros here." She jumped forward, trying to squeeze through the crowd of frantic dragons to get to him, but suddenly talons wrapped around her snout and shoulders. She was yanked backwards into the dark trees. Chapter 2. Sunny thrust furiously against the huge wings that wrapped around her. "Quick, while they're all distracted!" She heard a voice hiss. A shower of raindrops battered on Sunny's head as the dragon holding her ducked through the leaves. It was hard to see much more than black scales, but Sunny realized she was being dragged into the forest, away from the tunnels and crowd of dragons. "But I have to make sure Starflight is all right." She clawed up the arm, pinned her wings down, but the Nightwing only grunted and held her tighter. Wet leaves screeched and slithered under their talons. From the sounds around her, Sunny guessed they were 3 Nightwings, including her attacker, sneaking away from the scene while everyone was focused on Starflight and Clay. That's ominous. Maybe she should try to find out what they were up to. She stopped struggling and listened. The dragons were moving fast and quiet, even without flying. In just a few heartbeats, Sunny could hear Glory and Tsunami or shouting anymore. They also moved purposefully, as if they knew the forest well. "A hunting party," Sunny thought with a shiver. "These are probably some of the dragons who came through the tunnel to kidnap Rainwings." "What do you want with me?" "Here," one of the dragons said after a while, and they all stopped. Even with Sunny's sharp hearing, dragons roaring behind them sounded like distant thunder muttering in the horizon. Rain poured down harder and harder, and ever-present insect noises of the rainforest had gone to hiding. Sunny was dumped onto the ground, mud squishing between her claws and splattering her tail. She sprang up and hissed at the dragon who had been carrying her. He barely glanced down at her before turning to the other two. "Now what?" he demanded. "The whole plan is ruined. I'm not staying here to know about a rain-winged dragon." "Me neither," said one of the other, a female who was little more than a dragonette herself. Sunny guessed she was about 9 years old. She was bedraggled, wet, bony, and hunched over, and yet when she snorted a burst of flame, Sunny could see her eyes gleaming with stubborn furiously. "Plus, they'll kill me," said the big dragon. "You saw how they were about Mastermind. If they remember that I was his assistant, I was the one who locked them up or sucked them to the walls for him. They'll be after my blood if we stick around here." "Where are we supposed to go?" hissed the last dragon, another male, was less brawny than the one who had been carrying Sunny. He had a few missing teeth, and his tail was bent at the end as if had one being broken and then fixed incorrectly. "We were promised the rainforest. This is where I want to live, but not as second-class dragons. Imagine Wings telling what to do." "Well, we've got her, like you suggested," the big male said to the dragonette, flipping one wing towards Sunny. "So, what do you want to do with her?" The Nightwing dragonette lashed her tail and narrowed her eyes at Sunny. "We should use her as a bargaining chip. We can hold her at hostage until they took the whole tribe to the Rainwing village to make one of us queen." "Like who?" said the other male. He spat a small flame at the branch who was dripping over his head. "Greatness is weak and won't fight for it. Queen Battlewinner had no brothers or sisters or no daughters. There's no one else to claim the throne. I'll take it, said the dragonet. That'd be even better than being in the prophecy. If that Raylan can be queen, why not me? I'm bigger than her. True, growled the big one behind Sunny. Well, I have bad news, Sunny spoke up. They won't give you anything in exchange for me. I'm nobody. Just a weird-looking sandwing with a useless tail. She snapped her mouth shut before her voice could start wavering. She's been saying things like that her whole life, but she never felt awful about it until today. If there were no prophecy, then that meant she was really just a weird-looking and useless. No, that's not how it works. I'm weird-looking because I have a destiny. There's a reason I'm like this. There has to be. The night regarding her with respectful expressions. That will be annoying, said the big one. I'd be pretty angry if I carried this little thing through the forest and got my scales scratched up for no reason. Fierce teeth. I thought you said she'd be worth something. Fierce teeth? Sonny remembered that Starflight had told them about the dragonets in the Nightwing Kingdom. Wasn't Fierce Teeth his half-sister? We can't use her if she's who I think she is, said Fierce Teeth. She jabbed Sunny in the painful ribs. Aren't you Sunny? Starflight yapped on about Sunny whenever he was asleep. Sunny blinked at her, too startled to answer. Yes, this is her, Fierce Teeth said, answering her own question. My brother is totally in love with her. He'll agree to anything to get her back. That might actually be true, Sunny thought with alarm. Does he really talk about me in sleep? Only a few hours have passed since she stood in the rainforest clearing in the middle of dragons preparing to invade the Nightwing Island, and Starflight had told her he loved her, that he'd always loved her. She still didn't know how she felt about that. She didn't know what this feeling was, the strange ripple of surprise every time she remembered his expression. I don't know what to do, and somebody loves me and don't hurt him really? And right now, and imagine how happy you could make him, and why? Me? Really, me? But it's Starflight, her sweet, smart, anxious friend. She never thought of him like that, not once. It was still hard for her to believe that he meant. None of the other dragonets took her seriously. He always assumed he was the same way, that he thought she was too little and cheerful to be worth listening to. Focus, don't let them use you to hurt your friends. Didn't you see Starflight's injury? She said. He's too wounded to have any say in what happens next, and Glory couldn't care less about me. Face it, you can't use me. You should go back and rejoin the other Nightwings. Nice try, Fierce Teeth said. What if she's right? Said the Nightwing with the missing teeth. What if they don't want her? What if we expose ourselves and they'll just kill us? Strong Wings don't let them do that. Fierce Teeth said, stepping closer, and Blurry Dragon. They're a couple, Sunny realized. Really strange couple. Strong Wings were nearly twice the size of Fierce Teeth, but he kept turning towards her and ducking his head as though he was waiting for her to order him around. I know when he could find out, said the other male. He drew something flat and shiny overshaped from his wing. In the moonlight, it shone like a polished black glass and nearly fit between his front talons, and it stayed perfectly dry. The raindrops seemed to swerve to avoid raining on it. The opposite mirror, said Strongwing with a hiss of admiration. Nice work, Prey Hunter. I wondered if one could think to save it. He leaned in surprise and touched the smooth surface with one claw, not surprised that it wasn't greatness. She was more worried about saving her own scales. She never used it anyway, snorted Prey Hunter, even when he needed to know what the Rainwings were up to. She said she didn't trust anybody that was enchanted by an animus. Coward, I don't think the queen knew she wasn't checking it. Doesn't work as well as it used to, Strongwing had said. Everyone thinks Stonemover did something to it before he disappeared. What is it really? An old ominous-touched piece of treasure, Strongwing explained. This was one of the most important things we had to save from the treasure room when the volcano erupted and buried that part of the fortress. Back when I was a small dragonet. We'll use it for... He stopped and glanced at Sunny. Don't worry, we'll kill her before she can tell anything important, said Prey Hunter. Go ahead and try, Sunny said fiercely. No one else had managed it yet. He tilted the mirror so it caught the light of the two moons glowing through the clouds above them. The third moon was just a thin crescent, barely presenting over the trees. The rain had slowed to a misty drizzle. Show me how it works, Fiercely demanded. She snapped a branch off the nearest tree and set the end of the fire, leaves crackling wetly in the flames. We just need a name, said Strongwing. Someone important. That Rainwing Queen, obviously, Fiercely snapped. He looked blank and hissed at him. Glory, Glory, whispered the dragon, holding him the absent mirror. He breathed a plume of smoke through the dark glass. The smoke collided and twisted, winding like a thin snake around the other rim of the mirror, and for a few heartbeats, all at once the smoke vanished as if it had been stuck into the mirror, and a moment later one tendril curled up from the center of the glass, white tinted with purple, curving like a dragon's neck. Mangroves! The tendril barked abruptly in Glory's voice. Make sure none of them have any more of these spears. Jambu, you and Grander stop counting. These nightwings, just to be clear, not the spears. Fierce Teeth grinned, her teeth gleaming whitely in the moonlight. This is happening right now, she whispered, and Strongest nodded. Brilliant. Yes, I can see how it would be a useful trick, Sunny thought bitterly, especially for convincing other dragons that you have a mystical mind-reading abilities. A pinkish wisp of smoke curled up to the mirror next to the first one. You bet, no problem, Your Majesty, it said. Except, so counting, don't get me wrong, I'm really good at it. Up to like 20? That's a pretty big number, right? There's probably aren't more nightwings here than that. Jambu, there's at least 200 nightwings here, Glory snapped. He said, that's like 220s? Maybe 3? I can't even roll my eyes right now at you, Glory said. Find me a Rainwing who can count. I'll do it. A dark coil of smoke appeared right next to the first. It took Sunny a moment to recognize the voice of Deathbringer, the assassin who had been ordered to kill Glory, but instead helped her escape the Nightwings. Funny, Glory said. Tell me another. I love jokes about trusting Nightwings. You exasperating creature, Death Eater said. Haven't I not killed you multiple times already? I knew it, gnawed Prey Hunter, curling his claws around the mirror. I knew Virgins was right about him. Deathbringer is a traitor. We'll take care of him when the rainforest is ours. His strong wing. Fine, Gloria said. Go count Nightwings. I'll have a Starfly check your numbers when he wakes up. A ringing voice of vote of confidence. Deathbringer answered, sounding amused. The dark wisp of smoke coiled back into the mirror, as did the pinkish one. Glory's tendril of smoke twisted for a moment, alone on the grass. He will wake up, right? He said quietly. I think so. A new spiral of mud-colored smoke wound its way from the mirror, and suddenly, Sunny felt her heart jump hopelessly at the sound of Clay's voice. He always made her feel better, even from the other side of the rainforest, but he was burned pretty bad. He should use the darts to make him keep sleeping until he's healed as much as possible. I think it will hurt a lot when he wakes up. Oh, poor Starflight. Sunny crawled up her tail around her talons. And his eyes? Glory asked. Will they be red? I don't know, Clay said. All right. I did a perimeter sweep, Tsunami's voice said impressively as a blue twist of smoke appeared on the mirror. I made sure any gaps were filled with rain wings holding spears and blowguns, and I added a few more guards on the tunnels. I don't think they look very scary, but hopefully the Nightwings will. The blue smoke whisked around the other two tendrils as if Tsunami was circling them to land. That's why I need you two here, Glory said. The healers who took Starflight back to the village can look after him until we get there. But for colorating Nightwings, you're the most intimidating dragon I have. Mwah. Mwah, said Clay. That's me. Intimidating. Roar. Hey, at least you're not bright pink, Glory said. That's extremely helpful right now. It's alright, Clay said. Sunny's probably at the village already. She'll look after Starlight no matter how upset she is. Sunny winced and Furtive gave her a smart look. Why is she upset? Glory asked. That slime lizard Morosir, Tsunami answered. He told us that the prophecy is fake. He made it all up as the parts of the plan for the Nightwings to take over the rainforest. There was a long pause. 3 dragons around the mirror glanced at Sunny. She stared down at the claws. What? Glory exploded. A cloud of smoke shot up to the twice of its previous size. Yeah, Clay said. Isn't that crazy? I guess that's why Morrissey wanted to choose Blister as the next queen. He had his whole, I am going to bite that dragon's head off and stuff him in the volcano, Glory roared. Too late, Tsunami said. Since that's kind of already happened. The volcano part, I mean. He's a pile of ashes now. Are you serious? Glory demanded, taking over her. The whole thing was made up. There was no destiny, no wings of fire, no reason for us to be trapped in a cave our whole lives. No amazing mythical skywing who is infinitely better than me. Absolutely no need for any of us after all. Hey, I'm mad too, Tsunami said, but let's go back and kill him again. At least we don't have to worry about it anymore, Tsunami pointed out. No destiny means we can do whatever we want. Hounds of peas, we can go shove pufferfish up their noses. But Sunny was really upset, Clay said. She was kind of excited about the prophecy. Kind of excited? Sunny lashed her tail. It wasn't just some fun adventure I was looking forward to, Clay. Oh, Sunny will be fine, said Tsunami. You know her. She's always happy about everything. But tomorrow she'll be smiling again. And by next week, she probably won't even remember the prophecy. She just needs something new to care about, like making Starflight better. Well, I can think of lots of ways to keep her busy, Glory said. For one, she can find me someone to yell at. I seriously cannot believe this. If I didn't have to act like a queen right now... Her voice trailed off into a muffled growling. Sunny glared at the opposite mirror, this was exactly what she hated most about her. The way her friends saw her. Although hearing them say it so bluntly made it much worse. As if acting happy means I don't really care about anything. As if I just need to be distracted and I'll forget about the whole point of our existence and all the dragons who are counting on us. As if my brain were the size of a blueberry 3 moons. She cut fierce teeth, looking at her in a wry smirk. Not too impressed with your intelligence, are they? Said the Nightwing. Sunny squalled back at her. It sounds like they like her, said Strongwing displeased, but not like they think. She's particularly useful or important. I'm not sure they'll give us the reinforce in exchange for her. I'm not either, Sunny thought. Not that they should, but what would they want to do to get me back? Anything? Or they figure, hey, she'll be fine as hostage. Remember, she was always happy about everything, and that she'll be pretty happy with distracting for her. Perfect! Perhaps I'll just rescue myself then. That'll show them. And then perhaps I'll fulfill the prophecy all by myself too. And then they'll see that it was real all along. She knew that was exactly the kind of thing her friends would roll their eyes at her for saying, but it was no one else cared about their destiny anymore. If she was the only dragonette who still believed in it. What was she supposed to do? The Nightwings holding the mirror tilted to glass so that smoke trindles swirled together, and then he shot a small burst of fire across the surface. The smoke vanished and the back glass went still. There's another option, Prey Hunter said, regarding the others with sly expression. Someone else who definitely does want this done did Sandwing. Pretty badly, I guess. Fierce said sharply. You're right, three someones. We could sell her to the highest bidder. Whoever is willing to raise an army and take back the rainforest for us. Uh-oh, Sunny was not about to be handed over to one of the Sandwing queens. She spent enough time in cages and prisons already. Thanks very much. She snuck a look at the leaning trees, tangled the vines around them, searching for the closet gaps in the foliage. Let's start with Blister, Strongman said, his dark eyes glinting in the moonlight. She always pays her informants well, and she needs us the most. What does she pay them with? Sunny wondered. All the Sandwing rolled treasure was stolen by the scavenger who killed Queen Oasis, wasn't it? And it was, if there's any left, it would be in the Sandwing stronghold, which Burn controls. But Burn would love to have this earling in her collection, argued Prey Hunter. From that what I hear, a deformed dragonette would fit right in the 2-headed creature and stop scavengers. I'm not deformed, Sternly said hotly, but none of them paid attention to her. Queen Scarlet had been planning to hand Sandy over to Burn for this ominous collection as well. Sandy was quite sure he never wanted to see what else Burn had collected. Who has the strongest army? Fierce asked. Burn, right? And it would only take us a few days to get her. If we fly straight over the mountains and don't stop. She flickered the stronging and snouted as he opened to speak. Don't be stupid, ask questions. We'll use the tunnels to the kingdom of sand. They'll be yelling, "Yow!" Vishti's howl in pain as raindrops kept flying off the leaves around them as Sunny sank her teeth into the vulnerable spot on her tail. Strong learned to climb. Sunny pried her jaws loose and threw her aside. "Fierce teeth!" he cried, bending over the Nightwing Dragonet. "Are you alright?" Behind him, Sunny hit the ground, rolling on, sprang up with her wings spread, and shot into the trees. "Don't let her get away!" Fierce shrieked. "Strong wings, catch her! Kill her if you have to!" Chapter 3. Dangling wet vines smacked against Sunny's snout as she flew up into the treetops. Remember what she'd learned from Rainwings about rainforest flying and kept her wings tucked close. She couldn't use her tail to swing from trees to trees like they did, but she was small enough to maneuver through the narrow gaps and swerve quickly. But the three Nightwings were right behind her, roaring angrily. "I should lead them to the tunnels and the others. Glory needs to know what they're not loyal. She needs to lock them up and keep an eye on them." For how long, Sunny wondered. Forever? They'll never be trustworthy. They'll always be plotting to overthrow her. What do you want to do with dragons like that? One of her wings hit a branch as she flew past, and a family of monkeys went leaping off into the trees, howling and chattering with alarm. She twisted to glance back and saw a bolt of fire engulf one of the monkeys as the Nightwings attacked him, thinking it was her. "They won't be foolish enough to follow me all the way back," Sunny realized. "Even if I can keep ahead of them for that long, they won't let themselves be caught." "That'll do instead," she narrowed, missed knocking herself with a giant tree branch, ducking to avoid it the last second. "The same plan, just without me. They'll go to Burn and tell her we're in the rainforest, and her army can find us easily. I need to hide. I need to think." She curled into a ball and threw herself into one of the dragon fruit trees, where the leaves were huge and overlapped one another like scales. One moment nearly carried her out to the other side, but she was able of filling her talons out and hooked onto the trunk, slamming her body onto it. She froze in place, clinging to the roof bark, hoping the Nightwings had lost sight of her in the dark. "By all the moons, Strongwing!" If your teeth swore from somewhere to Sunny's left. "How could you let her escape?" Sorry, his voice mumbled. "She's gone," said Prehunter. "We'll never find her now. Not without running the risk of a Rainwing spotting us." "Let's get out of here," said Strongwing, "before she brings back reinforcements." "Talon and Tails," Fish teeth hissed. "We need her. We still have the useful information for the next Sandwing." "Queen," said Prehunter, "they all want to know where the Dragonets are. If we hurry, we'll be able to be the ones selling that information, and we don't need the Sandwings as proof. We're Nightwings. Everyone believes us." "Makes sense. Let's go," Strongwing says. And with a flurry of wing beats, the dragons headed for the dark sky above the trees. Sunny's claws were trembling with the effort to stay still. She took a deep breath. "If I go back and tell the others, we can follow them. But by the time they listen to me, if they listen to me at all, the next one will be long gone." Sunny, that used to the way her friends talked to her all the time. If she really wanted to be heard, she usually had to get Clay's attention and make her suggest them for her. Which wasn't fair. She had good ideas. But her friends never expected her to have anything useful to say. They also didn't trust her to keep secrets. They hadn't even told her about it when they are all planning to escape their guardians. All they wanted to do was for her to be cheerful and supportive and agree with everything they wanted to do. Would Glory even listen if Sunny tried to tell her about the launch of Right Wings? Wouldn't she be too busy? What if she just rolled her eyes at Sunny, the way she often did? I don't want to be distracted from worrying about the prophecy, Sunny muttered. I want to do something, like stopping the Nightwings. I could follow them right now, but I might be the only dragon who can stop them before they tell Burn where we are. Maybe if I do, my friends will see that I could do important things, and then they maybe will listen to me about the prophecy. She thought guilty of Starflight and what he would think when he firmly woke up and realized she wasn't there, taking care of him. Then she thought of what her friends had said about her in the opposite mirror, and she thought about Marcyr, his smug, evil face, and she thought of all the dragons in Pura waiting for the dragons of destiny to save them. I'm doing this, even if I have to fulfill the prophecy alone, I will. Sunny clambered up through the branches and lifted off, following the black dragons into the night sky. It was easier to follow the Nightwings than Sunny would have expected. Sharp eyes could catch the movement of their small silver underwing scales flashing against the sky, and they weren't making much effort to be quiet either. Or maybe loud and flappy was how Nightwings always flew. They also were slower than Sunny and got tired more quickly, so she had to be careful not to pass them accidentally, especially during their frequent rest stops. The sun was rising behind them when they reached the far end of the rainforest, where the jungle shifted into a preserve with more marshes outskirts of Mudwing territory. The cloud mountains stood out sharply up ahead in the growing light, like a line of jagged, broken teeth. Most of the mountains in the southern part of the range were not as tall as the ones in the north, where the Skywings lived. But there was one exception, Jade Mountain. The tallest mountain on the continent was easy to spot, and not just for its towering size. Sunny remembered that picture of the map on Priya they had underground. In reality, two crags at the top looked like sharp fangs sticking out into the air. One of the squirrels had said that from certain approaches, the tip of the mountain looked exactly like the head of a snake lunging out of the ground, attacking the clouds. Jade Mountain, Sunny frowned. Someone had said something recently about Jade Mountain. Someone she needed to remember. What was it? Nothing came to her as the sun slowly lit up the mountain fangs. Sunny had been worrying all night about how she wouldn't hide from the Nightwings in the daylight. They didn't seem to be watching behind them, but it would be hard to miss her golden scales once the sun was reflecting off them. She wished that she had Glory's camouflage scales. Really, any of her friend's skills would be helpful instead of her own total lack of powers. But as the sky grew pinker and brighter and then started shading from gray to blue, the three Nightwings flew lower, their wings drooping until they finally landed beside a small river. Sunny kept her distance, choosing the tallest tree she could find and tucking herself among the branches close to the trunk. She fixed her eyes on where the Nightwings had gone down and prickled her ears so she could hear their distant muttering, with fierce teeth the most distinct. It sounded as if they were planning to sleep for as much of the day as they could, and then fly on at dusk. They've been breathing violent volcanic ashes and living on dying, rotting scraps. Probably their whole life, Sunny thought. No wonder they're not exactly in good shape. After a while, the tree stopped rustling and the dragon's voice fell silent. A few minutes later, one of them, Sunny guessed Strongwing, started snoring like a herd of congested hippos. Now what I do, Sunny wondered. This was perfect opportunity to wreck their plans. If she could figure out how. Could I fly to Rain Ring Village and get back with reinforcement before they wake up. No, it would take me all day to get someone to pay attention to me. I can do this myself. I have to. What would Tsunami do? Will she go down there and kill them? I don't think I could do that, even if I could do that. Sunny sighed. A breeze whispered through the trees, curling under her wings as if inviting her to fly. Yesterday, I wouldn't have worried about what was going to happen the next with Fierce Teeth and the others. I'll be able to follow them, knowing for sure that whatever I did would turn out all right. She hated Marcia for making her feel this way, this awful doubting feeling. And he planted this worry, which she had never done before. That maybe things wouldn't be all right. That in fact she could die and the war might go on endlessly, and perhaps there was a happy ending all planned out by the universe. She had to stop thinking about Marcia and the prophecy. It was like stabbing icicle sharp claws between her scales every time she pictured the haughty black dragon sneering about his great lies. Stupid nightwings and their dreadful, all-knowing high and mighty. Sunny sat up fast as she nearly fell off her tree branch, all-knowing. There was one thing she could do to slow the nightwings down. She could steal the opposite mirror. This is the end of this video. Bye!